What is going on, everyone? PArsnip here, and today we're gonna go ahead and have a Halloween special for all of you Halloween fans and monster fans and creature fans or anything spooky fan. Now guys, since this is actually gonna be a special, we are gonna be doing a couple of different things today, and that is we're not only gonna be doing a build, but we are going to be looking at some other builds, at some other people's artworks and things like that. And it's pretty much going to be a break in the middle because I figured that considering this build is so long, it definitely does deserve it. So as far as this build goes, it's going to of course be a Halloween themed build, and it's going to focus mainly on the terrain. However, towards the end of the build itself, I will be doing a couple of houses and different types of structures and things like that. So hopefully you guys do enjoy that. Now let's go ahead and get started. So the main thing that I wanted with this biome as well as the build in general was to make it look like it would fit Halloween theme. You know, something that looks spooky as well as creepy and something along those lines. Now what I did start off by doing was making these weird pillars, and the pillars has a pretty funny story. So my girlfriend actually sees the build naturally before you guys, and once I showed her pretty much a little bit further into the build, like let's say when you guys are seeing the 3-minute threshold, that's what I showed her, and she looks at those pillars and says, "Oh, are those like man-eating plants that has like poisons on the tips and all of that?" And I just started laughing because naturally I have no idea what I'm doing. For those of you that don't know, my builds are actually pretty random. I just decide to make something and I go with the flow. As far as these man-eating plants with poison on the tips goes, they're pretty much just random structures. You know, instead of trees we have these. Now you can also see that I started off by making a little room underground. I decided that I did not like this and I did not want this. So instead of that, I am going to be replacing it with pretty much some caves and some obsidian sort of biome type thing. I have no idea what to call it. But let's go ahead and just focus right now on the pillars. The pillars themselves use a couple of different materials. They go from things like the shade wood that you guys can see. The main frame around the pillars are shade wood, as well as those little teeth or pointy edges on the top of each pillar is made of Ebenstone bricks. Now those are the main materials that's going to be used towards the frames and structure. Inside, again, I use a lot of shade wood walls as well as Ebenstone brick walls. However, you can definitely tell that there's a couple more things hidden behind that wall, and that is, well, for starters, I wanted something that gave a little bit of light. That's why I ended up using the amethyst gem spark walls, the normal one, the active ones. But you also see that, well, it had a little bit of purple, and even though it gives light, it's super bright. I figured that I would use the unactive blocks, you know, the unactive amethyst gem spark blocks, or walls in this case, and use that pretty much as a contrast, you know, so that it has some purple but it's not that bright always. Besides the gem spark blocks, we also have a couple of other things, and that pretty much is the lead fencing as well as some lead glass walls. Now the lead glass wall is from a mod. I'm not sure if it's from Calamity, Chad's Furniture, or Trimmer, but it is from one of those three. As far as the poison tips, like my girlfriend called it, those are pretty much the green fire, the living fire flames, however it's called. Again guys, I don't remember the names of a lot of things, but it's the living fire one, the green one, as well as some emerald gem spark walls on the background because they match pretty well and it looks more green, as well as it gives off more light. Now as you can see below, I did start working on that cave like I mentioned before. The cave itself looks pretty cool. It's made out of obsidian as well as I forgot what the background wall is called. I think it's iridescent bricks or something along those lines, the purple one. And as details, I decided to add some sort of gems, some sort of shiny thingies, you know, just to highlight it, and that is amethyst and emerald, because I figured, you know, purple and green was matching the theme pretty well, and that's exactly why I end up using. Next up, I go ahead and start working on the top, the upper section. This is going to be a pretty decent sized biome. As you can see here, it's actually going to be like twice as big as what it is right now. So on the top, I go ahead and make some sort of floating island with obsidian, again to match the theme. I add another pillar or two, and I really am enjoying this. Now the whole idea for this build was to make something unique. You know, normally on Halloween, and I will show you guys this later on, my builds on Halloween are normally like a specific build, very predictable. You know, I made a pumpkin before, a pumpkin farm. I made a couple of haunted mansions, you know, some big spooky dead trees and things like that. The normal things that you will see in every single Halloween. In fact, when I go ahead and start talking about screenshots and stuff like that, you guys will notice that there's gonna be quite a few of these, because of course the first thing when you think of on Halloween and you want to make a build out of it, you think of a haunted house, you know, a spooky mansion. It's something that will be practical, you can actually use. It's something that doesn't take too long time or much effort. It's just the blocks that you use that's a little bit more rustic or abandoned, you know, something like shade wood or spooky wood. Those work really well. And we will be talking a lot about these types of builds and videos and things of the sort later on. As for right now, we're gonna just focus on the terraforming, and the terraforming for this did actually take quite a bit of time. Like always, terraforming for me, I like to add a lot of details, and by adding a lot of details, I do complicate my life a little bit, because when I start running out of time, I start thinking, why did I decide to do this like this? Because now I have to make the whole build like that, and I just can't go ahead and restart. That would take too long, so I just continue and thrive through. There gets a point, and I would say like after 3 to 4 hours, you start getting tired of doing the same thing, and that's exactly what happened on this build, sadly. However, as soon as I started making the houses and the bases, it was actually a lot of fun yet again. Now don't get me wrong, the start of this building was incredibly fun, but after you just keep repeating the same thing, you know, it does start to get tedious. And that was the issue I had with my adventure map. But worry not, guys, the adventure map will actually be coming out again very soon. In fact, I even started recording a bit of it. I think I recorded a 20-minute session just the other day on the snow biome, but I'll see what I'm gonna go ahead and do from there. As far as the Halloween build, I decided to make it bigger than originally planned, because I figured that I want the full screen to be covered up by this biome at least. So I went ahead and just started expanding it. I again decided to go ahead and use some obsidian towards the bottom. I go ahead and add, oh, I completely forgot to mention, but the background is pitch black. I figured pitch black would be pretty cool. I don't have to worry about daytime, it's permanently night, and it looks pretty good, you know. It highlights more the bright colors, like the green is really highlighted here with the pitch black background. Now for this effect, I used unactivated amethyst gemspark walls as well as shadow paint. Now for those of you that don't know, shadow paint will make whatever it is pitch black. Now if you're wondering why for the most part you can't see me actually using a paintbrush or a paint roller to paint it, is because I have the accessory that once I place a block or I place something, as long as I have paint in my inventory, the item will automatically be placed painted. So that has its advantages, but as well as it has some disadvantages, which is if I have paint on my inventory, I can't really place much because it will automatically change the color. So that's why I constantly throw the paint in the garbage. Now next up, I go ahead and decide to add a little statue down below, as well as work on the first build. Now the story with the statue, why is there a statue there, is because I wanted the water to be like a purplish pink. I was in doubt whether I was gonna want it to be like the hollow color. The hollow color is this bright pink, or the corruption. I decided to go ahead with the corruption fountain. The corruption fountain, or any of those biome fountains, for those of you that don't know, will actually change the water color for that biome. So for example, I used the corruption biome. Even though this is not a corruption biome, the color of the water will be exactly that. It will be a purple water, the same way that if you're in the corruption, the water would be the exact same color. As far as this first building goes, I decided to go ahead and work on a building. I was gonna save the buildings towards the end, however I did get a little bit tired, and I did notice that I screwed myself up a little bit. So if you don't know, the right side of this map has no room. I literally can't really build much. So towards the left side, Sadly, there will be more builds, but it's something that happened. I didn't plan it properly, and I was out of room towards the right side. So I'm probably only going to be doing another build or two towards the left, and actually it's not probably, I am going to be doing another 2 builds towards the left. Now this one I went ahead and used spooky wood as well as some green team blocks. I figured that the green team blocks fit well, again still matching the purple and green team that is going with this biome. The next builds, however, will be different color. I haven't decided yet if I'm gonna make more than 3 builds. I might try to fit something else towards the right side. Hopefully I could get something in there, something maybe of a different color. For example, the other 2 builds are gonna be like orange and red and things like that. I didn't want it all to be purple. So after finishing the first build, I go ahead and start working towards the roof. The other builds are actually going to be smaller and not working towards the roof, but working towards that little floating section on top. So this floating section is pretty cool. I really am liking the little caves that I am utilizing by making these big obsidian sections. I go ahead and dig out some parts. I fill it in with the, I think again, not sure if I'm correct here, but you read the sentence, blocks or something along those lines, the walls, the brick walls, and I fill them up with amethyst, emeralds, as well as some sort of lighting. Like for example, the lighting could be the flesh lighting. For example, it's the one with the chain in the green. It could be the obsidian lighting. Any lighting works. The reason I decided to put lighting is so that on the video as well as on the screenshots you guys could go ahead and actually see that there's a cave there. Otherwise it would be pitch black, and I figured that since I went to the trouble of adding a lot of details here, I should go ahead and maybe add some lighting. Now what happened on one of the caves, I decided that I am going to use the shadow paint. I figured that it would match. In the future I also will be adding spikes. So again, I decide still not big enough, I'm gonna add another expansion. Now this is gonna be the last one. By now I was pretty tired, you know. I figured, hey, I have been building for over 4 hours. I think in total this build has 5 hours and something, and I'm still gonna see if I do another build and finish that up. But worry not, guys, I am again dividing this in 2 parts. You're gonna see it in one video. However, towards the middle or something along those lines, I will be taking a pause from the building itself and start working on a little mashup for you guys with other builds, with some other type of commentary and stuff like that, just so that we could go ahead and relax a little bit and not just listen to me talking for like 16-17 minutes non-stop. But yeah, hopefully every single one of you is having an amazing Halloween. I'm not sure about you guys, but I tell you all every single year, if you guys have been on my channel is actually not that old, but the past 2 years at least that I got Halloween, I always make some sort of special. Normally I just do a couple of builds. So for example, instead of one big video, I would do 2 or 3 Halloween themed videos, and I figured those are pretty good, but I wanted something a little bit different this year. Since I am making such a long build, I went ahead and decided to mix it and match, and hopefully you guys like it. If you're into Terraria and you love Halloween, hopefully this helps your craving a little bit. But yeah, hopefully everyone has plans. Maybe you're going partying, trick-or-treating, depending where you are. Sadly, I am no longer in America and we don't have trick-or-treating here. However, I will be having a party with some friends, and it's gonna be a ton of fun because, of course, who doesn't love dressing up and just messing around, listening to some spooky stories or music and whatnot, and having a blast. Alright guys, let's go ahead and take a quick pause from the Let's Build and go ahead and start looking at some screenshots and builds. So at first we go ahead and have an amazing haunted house by Gotchas. Now this haunted house was actually the winner of the 2014 Halloween contest by Relogic. So as you guys can tell, it's actually quite detailed, and my favorite part is right here down on the depths of the haunted house, and that is the subway, because right underneath the subway you can go ahead and see the demons talking about how they're gonna sacrifice the humans. Following that, we go ahead and have one of my own builds. Now this is actually a build, I think it's also from 2014 if I'm not mistaken, and this is a haunted mansion that I myself made, and you can clearly see how much my builds has changed since then. Now the reason that I really like this was because of the pixel art on the bottom. Right up next, we go ahead and probably have one of my favorite Halloween builds, and this is from Cayuse. This is actually a build based on The Nightmare Before Christmas. Now, all of you have probably already heard or seen of this movie, and you can clearly tell how much effort and time was spent onto this build. Now, this build was also pretty old, as you can tell by the screenshots in the background. However, it is really amazing. From the hills to the moon, all the way to the houses, everything is spot on and truly a work of art. Right up next, we have something that's a little bit smaller than the previous builds, and this is a build by Jeremy. This was actually also a submission for a contest. However, it might not have won. It did really inspire me towards my builds later in the future. I really did like how much details he made in here, as well as the theme that he did. He went ahead and made the trees look like arms, and he also used a little bit of different colors towards the clouds and the moon. Overall, looks great. Right after, we have a build from Happy Days. Now this build is actually one of the reasons that I made my, if I'm not mistaken, it was this one. If not this one, something similar to this was the reason why I made my pumpkin farm. This right here is actually based off on a slime, I would assume. However, if you put a little green part on the tip, it would be a pretty cool pumpkin house for 4 NPCs. Next up, we have a build by Blocked. It's not directly Halloween based. It was submitted in the Creation Compendium on October, and it does look a little bit spooky, especially because of the the fireplace. The lighting from the fireplace, pretty much. It gives that nice dark and orange theme to it, and overall it looks awesome. Next up, we have a build by Diff. Now this is probably the most simple one from this list. It's a treehouse that was painted, and inside he used spooky wood or ebon wood to go ahead and make some houses. Next up, we have one of my favorite Halloween arts on Terraria, and this is a build by O'Ferry, and this is overall a really amazing build. Just overall, her character and the way she made it looks amazing. Now let's go ahead and get back to the build. Alright guys, we are back, and we're gonna go ahead and start working on those bases that I mentioned before. Now the first base that I'm gonna go ahead and make after our short break that we had is the pumpkin base. Pretty much, it's a really small one. Now all the bases here are gonna be small. These can pretty much be considered NPC rooms, right? You can't do much with them. Maybe put an NPC and maybe a little bit of details here and there. Now what I did use for this base in particular was Dynasty Wood as well as pumpkin. Now for the background, I did use pumpkin walls. However, the main background is copper, because I figured it would not only look orange, but it would be a little bit different from the pumpkin itself. Overall, I really do like the way these are looking, and it's just going to continue to add a little bit more things here and there that overall I think it's going to look like a biome where a couple of strange creatures or NPCs lived in, or maybe something along those lines. Here I go ahead, of course, with little bits of space, I decided to go ahead and just use this upper section to make another house. Now this house pretty much is supposed to be like it was in the background, you know, not actually being in use. And it's really small. Of course, with the space you can't do anything here except for aesthetics. So what I did do here is use the Hellstone bricks as well as flesh blocks, put some lighting, some details, and just made it there so it highlights something, you know, so it's not every single thing there is not just the same color, something that's different and will catch your attention, you know, even if it's just a bit. Right after that, I go ahead and here I'm just going pretty creative. I figured, you know, what if this biome that I just created had some sort of boss or maybe some sort of ruler? If I did have the option to make an actual boss, I would, but for now let's just pretend this is moving and it's looking over the biome. Now I did use Mithro bricks. The reason why I did this was because I like the little shine it has. Mithro brick has a lot of little glistening parts. That's why you guys can see all those shiny bits there. So, but worry not, it is going to be Halloween themed because I am going to paint it black and red. As for the creature itself, I messed around with the colors. I tried negative dye, and I figured, hey, maybe it'll look good if I try. And overall, I did not like the negative dye and decided to switch the negative dye for the red dye. Next up, I go ahead and just add a little bit of details here and there with the dyes again, especially on the chest, the head, and the arms, as well as some tentacles or whatever these are in the back. Maybe a tail, something along those lines. Overall, I think it looks cool, especially after I paint it red and add a little bit of lava. It looks like it would actually fit the theme and be some sort of evil boss or creature here. So as for the eyes, I did want some light coming out of this because during night it is really dark, and I used some, what's it called, ruby gem spark walls. Yeah, exactly that. Right after, again, I continue adding details towards the island. I don't want it to look messy or just like I placed it there. I wanted it to actually look like some stones with some intricate designs and whatnot. As far as the beast itself, it is complete. I would have loved to done more details and things like that, but I figured this looks really cool, especially at night, as you guys can see right now. Lastly, I go back down, add a little bit more details, and start working on what will be the last room. Again, I started off with the right side of the biome, and I ended up not having much space, super sadly. But yeah, guys, this is gonna be the last room. It's just really random. Of course, I have no idea what this would serve for. Maybe an NPC, maybe weird creatures lived here, maybe this was some sort of flesh that some dead giant monster left behind and someone used it to store stuff. Whatever the case, it's all about your imagination. So I really do hope you guys enjoyed this Halloween special. I know it's a little bit longer than the usual. Hopefully you guys are watching this on Sunday or a day that you have more time, and maybe you guys have some recommendations or things I can do in the future, maybe for the Christmas special or something along those lines. Again, this has been a blast. As always, thank you all for watching, for the comments, for the feedback. I really do enjoy it. Keep looking out for my future videos. One of them is definitely going to be the adventure map, which I will start working on again soon because I have been getting quite a few requests actually. Lastly, again, the little bit of details that I just added here were random. I just wanted to make it look like it served more of a purpose and filled it up a little bit more by using the bones. I did originally wanted to go ahead and make a bone house. However, I lacked space, so I just made a little dock, maybe the fish or whatnot. So that's pretty much it, guys. I hope you're all having an amazing Halloween. You guys are going trick-or-treating. Maybe you guys don't have trick-or-treating. If you're not from the US, it's pretty hard. I get that. Over here, we also don't have that. But yeah, whatever the case is, you're partying, you're having fun, you're masked and whatnot. So guys, as always, thank you all for watching. I really do hope you guys enjoyed it. If you have suggestions or anything along those lines, make sure to leave them in the comment section below. And for those of you that don't know, there is a competition going on Terraria. Make sure you guys check out the official forums. And yep, that's pretty much it, guys. Thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you all next time. As always, it's been a blast, and happy Halloween.